Hey y'all, it's Jazz and I am back with another video. And today I'll be showing y'all how I got this smoky brown eye, this soft glam that goes with any look really. So let's just get right into it. I take my Neutrogena makeup wipe just to start off while wiping her face down. And this is my best friend Rachel. Shout out to her. She'll be my model for today. So that's all I do in the beginning is just wipe down her face before I start on the brows. I then take my NYX Expresso pencil. The shade is in Expresso. And I am just brushing out her brows just to make sure that they are flat. I start by outlining, so I start by the bottom. And then I work my way to the end. And then I do the same thing to the top. And then when I shade them in, I always say I use a light hand, meaning that I don't apply much pressure. So your brows don't be too dark or anything, just to get that more natural look. And while you are shading in, I always suggest that you brush while you're shading, just to make everything look cohesive in my opinion. So obviously that is just what I do. And one thing that I will say is 9 times out of 10, I try not to have my client talk because people subconsciously move their eyebrows when they talk. So then you'll start shading and you'll start tracing out their eyebrows. It'll just be a little hard. So if you got like that girl, y'all can have y'all conversations while y'all doing your brows. With me, I just had them set pretty real quick. And I do the brows. Me filling them in and me carving them out, it takes all but 5 minutes. So not even that. So it's, you don't sit in silence for too long. But I don't even talk because I need my hand to be steady. Okay? Because brows can make or break a look. But like I said, I'm going to have a more detailed tutorial on brows. So please stay tuned for that. But this is how my brows look before I carve them out. I did take my Morphe brush and my e.l.f. concealer, and then I just carve out the brows. And then I drag down that concealer on the eyelid because that is going to be the start of our eyeshadow base. I then take my brush and I just buff out those edges when it comes to my concealer, making sure that it is all blended out. And I do that on the eyelid and as well as the forehead. I then take my P.Louise base in the shade number 2. And I put that all over her eyelid. And then I take that same brush and I just blend that out right on the lid. You don't want any patches. You want it to just be a smooth eyelid, like a smooth canvas, okay? And y'all, I love her eyelid space. That's probably what I'm telling her right now. Like, all my MUAs know when y'all see a good eyelid space. That's why she's laughing, because I keep complimenting her. Like, it just looks like an artist playground. Like, ugh. I love it. I did take my powder, my Revolution setting powder, and it's a banana powder. And then I coat that all over her eyelid just to set the eyeshadow base, because you don't want a wet base, because then your eyeshadow is going to look a little muddy and that's not cute. So that is what I'm doing here. I did take my Black Radiance contour palette and I used the contour shade, and this is in medium dark, and I put that all over her eyelid. And I take my eyeshadow brush and I'm just packing that shade all over her eyelid, because what I do is I work on my eyelid first at times, anytime it's a smoky look, and then I smoke it out. Like, so I'm only using this one shade. So you see I'm going to have my blending brush in one hand and the brush that I used to pack on the eyeshadow in another. So as you can see, I'm starting to try to diffuse those edges so they don't be so harsh. But I only use that one color. When I used to start doing makeup, I used to not understand the transition colors. I used to not understand any of that. But in due time, you're going to start understanding and things like that. But things like this with a smoky eye, a brown smoky eye, in my opinion, I only use one brown. And I try to have her open her eyes just so I can see how it is laying on her eye. So you'll just see me work back and forth with packing on that color and blending. So that's all you do back and forth when it comes down to this look. Also, it is nothing on that blending brush. It is free of any product. I am just using that just to blend. And now I'm just starting on the second eye, and I'm just going to do the same thing that I did on the first eye to the second eye. Now that y'all can see that I have basically completed that eye, I just was packing on the color, making sure it's a little bit more pigmented. But I am done with the eyes, and I'm moving on to the mascara to take off any of that brown eyeshadow that might have fell out and went on the lashes. But when I put on the false lashes, it just helps them stick together, in my opinion. I use the Kiss Lash Glue when applying my lashes. And I have them slightly close their eyes so I can make sure that I am super close to the lash line. And this next step is totally optional. I did take my NYX liquid eyeliner pen, and I am just making her a wing liner as was requested. But you do not have to do this. This is definitely optional. I am now just taking some concealer and just cleaning up that wing just to make sure that it is sharp. All of that under her eye, that black stuff, is just mascara, but I'm going to take my Neutrogena makeup wipe and just wipe that off just to get all of that stuff from under her eye. Then I am getting my regular black liner, and I am lining her waterline. You do have some criers out here. She's one of them. So I typically, 10 times out of 10, I do my liner before I do foundation, just in case if they are a crier, they don't water down on the foundation or anything, because then I'm going to start crying. And we both can't be crying. So I just water her, oh my goodness, line her waterline before I even start on foundation or anything. Now I am moisturizing her face, and I'm using a foundation brush to do so. And then I take my e.l.f. primer, and I am using that same brush and just priming all over her skin. And just to set all of this in, I take that same Revolution banana powder, and I am just setting that moisturizer and that primer. Then I take my foundation in the shade Tahoe, and I am putting that all over her skin. I usually do the darkest shade and I outline it. So I do it on the outer parts of her face, the darker foundation, and then I use my Maybelline Fit Me in the shade 312, and I am putting that on the middle of her face. So it is darker on the outsides and then lighter on the inside. That's just how I kind of map it out, just to give that look that I desire. Oh, that's her favorite part. I take my Morphe setting spray. You've seen me spray it out all over her face before I started to blend it out with my Real Techniques brush. And remember, we don't swipe, we pat. So I'm just patting that all over the skin, making sure that those two colors are blended together. And this is typically why makeup take a little bit longer than expected, because I just make sure that it is blended out. You don't want to miss any spots. I make sure I get closer to the ears. I make sure I get down to the neck. I make sure all over is blended. And at the end, I wipe off her baby hairs. So all that makeup on her baby hairs is wiped off at the end. But as you can see, I'm taking my napkin and I'm just taking off all of that excess as well, because we don't want, even though we put all of that foundation on there, we still don't want just all of that sitting on her face. So I am just blending all of that out and making sure that everything is just seamless. Period. I did take my Real Technique sponge and I am just spraying that down with my Morphe spray, and I am just patting it all over her face. And you can see that it, in my opinion, it doesn't look as wet when I do that. So it just makes sure everything is just blended all together. So that's my routine when I do my foundations. Period. So now I am taking my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Tan Sand, and I am just putting a little bit on the forehead, a line on her nose, a little bit over her lip, right in the inner corner of her eyes, and then I do some foundation on the outer part of her eye. That's how I map out my concealer. I did take some, this is optional. I take my e.l.f. concealer and I am just applying that right there in the same spots that I applied the first shade of concealer, just so it don't be as light. And I spray her down so I can start blending. I take my Real Techniques buffing brush, well, setting brush, excuse me. And I'm just blending all of that out. I typically wait until under the eyes. I try to do that last because I love a highlighter under eye. Period. And sometimes if I feel like it's too light, I take that foundation brush and I pat that on there, on the concealer, just to blend it right into that foundation. Okay, so now we are going to do the brightening part that I was referring to when I say I love a highlighter under eye. This is how we're going to get that done. I focused that really light shade. It kind of resembles white, but it still is relatively close to her skin tone. Well, it will complement her skin tone in a sense, but I just packed that on right under her eye to give us that effect. And I moved that all around to all of the places that I concealed on her face. And yeah, because you look good, sis. And now we're about to contour. I use my black Opal foundation stick, and I am contouring her cheeks, her forehead, and her nose. I believe this is in the shade Nutmeg, if I'm not mistaken. And I just put 2 lines on her nose. You don't have to go all the way down because it kind of moves that way once you blend it out. I did take my Real Techniques brush and we're going to blend it out. I don't start in any particular order. You might see me jumping around from the forehead to the cheeks. And I don't do it in no specific order. So whatever makes y'all happy, do it in that order. But when blending out the cheeks, I have her smile. I don't do the fish face. I have my client smile because it helps me see directly where her cheekbone is. Then I take my concealer brush and then I start blending that in as well. You want everything to just look melted into the skin. That's the goal. You trying to make it look like she woke up like that. So if you got to go between 2 to 3 brushes, your concealer brush, your contour brush, your foundation brush, so be it. Because that's how we're going to get the look. But you see me blending out the tip of her nose with the same blending brush. But when I contour the nose, I'm going to use a Real Technique sponge. Because you can pinch the sponge and it's going to hit the exact points that you want to contour on the nose. So that's why I don't use my brush when I contour. When I have the foundation stick contour, I use my sponge. As you can see here, that's what I was referring to. And you see I'm moving up and down. So those little dashes, they move. Like they work. You don't have to do the whole nose in one line. Those 2 dashes, they work just fine for me. Now you're going to see me use my Mercier powder. And I am packing that setting powder under her eyes. Well, all over the places that we conceal because we don't want any creasing. We are just setting the face. That's on period. I don't bake, so you won't see like a whole bunch of powder just sitting on her face. I just dip my setting brush, that same brush that I used to conceal. I set that in there. And I'm just placing it on all of the places that I concealed. And then I use my Real Technique sponge and I'm pinching it again to get some of that powder on there. And I'm just putting it right on that line on the bridge of her nose. Now I am taking my mascara and I am putting it on her bottom lashes. Now what I would suggest, now that I'm looking back, I would have smoked out her bottom lash line first and then put the mascara. So I would suggest to do that first because you're about to see me smoke out her lash line after that. So I would suggest that you do that before you do the mascara. And I'm using that same color that I use on the lid on the bottom. Now I'm taking my MAC MINERALIZE Skin Finish in the shade Medium Dark. And that place that we set, I'm just putting some color back into her face. And that's what I use to dust off the powder on her nose. I just love this. It just brings color and warmth back, in my opinion, in the face. Now I am just taking some regular lashes, individual lashes that were at the beauty supply, and I am just applying that under her lashes. I just take a dot of glue. I dip the lash in the glue, and I just put it on there. So now I am taking my Black Radiance light to medium palette, and I am setting that contour. I like more of a sun-kissed look when I contour, and now you see me with a Morphe contour shade in the shade Megastar, and I am just bronzing her up. This is my favorite part. And if I feel like I did too much, like or you got a little too excited, I use that brush, excuse me, and it's an e.l.f. buffing brush or blending brush to just diffuse those edges. Then I take my Real Technique sponge and I'm just going all over the face, making sure everything is blended to my liking. And then I get my Laura Mercier powder and I get that setting brush and I'm just carving out that contour. So right under the contour, I place the setting powder. So as you can see, you can have that nice cut contour look. Then I take my blush by Juvia's Place and I'm just placing that right on her contour. I'm learning y'all with this blush, okay? Work with me. I'm gonna love blush just like everybody else one day. But then I wipe off her lips with all that makeup and with my Neutrogena makeup wipe. And now I am using my lip liner in the shade Trendsetter. And I'm lining out her lips. This is my favorite nudish pink lip combo. You can use a regular brown liner if you like. But after that, I then use my NYX lip gloss in the color Fortune Cookie. And I'm just applying that all over her lips. And instead of having her blended in, I'm going to have her pop her lips, as you see she's doing right there. And just move that product around so it could be more focused on the center of her lips. Then I top that off with a clear gloss. She looks so cute. Period. And this gloss is optional, but I just love a clear gloss topper. It's just a ting for me. Then I take my Radiance, Black Radiance light to medium contour kit, contour palette, and I use the highlighter shade, and I'm just applying that to the highest points of her face, her cheeks, her nose, and a little bit on her forehead. Then I take my Fenty Beauty diamond highlighter. Rihanna knew exactly what she was doing. See, shine bright like a diamond. She already knew. So I'm applying that right where I put that extra highlight on, and love that highlighter. She knew exactly what she was doing. But this is the final look. I'm just gonna spray her down with my Morphe setting spray. But it's a look. It's definitely a look. I tried to make it as easy as possible. I try not to make it too complex or anything, but this is the final look. I really hope you guys loved it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will have more videos to come. And I love y'all. God bless y'all. And thank y'all. And I'll see y'all in my next video.